This is a very quick video of my thoughts, mainly on sound quality of this £2,300, $3,000 all-in-one streaming DAC and amp. And I'm going to just give my 2 pennies worth because I don't want to repeat absolutely everything. There are lots of reviews on it already. The Cambridge Audio EVO 150 uses a Class D amplifier circuit, 150 watts into 8 ohms, and it's of the same brand of amplifier type as that used in NAD's M10 and their most recent version 2 M10. In other words, Hypex N-Core, and this one uses NC252 MP modules. But to go over the main features, this amplifier has balanced XLR and RCA analog inputs. It's got an phono input, also 2 optical, 1 coaxial digital inputs, and a USB asynchronous digital input. It has an eARC HDMI connection, pre-outs, and also a front headphone socket. Its StreamMagic based app, which is the Cambridge Audio app that it uses, can deal with Tidal and Quobuzz within it. But this EVO 150 is also room ready. It can handle AirPlay 2, MQA, Chromecasting, and it can deal with aptX HD Bluetooth, and it's also a DNLA compliant streamer. Personally speaking, I don't actually think this StreamMagic app is that great. It's a little bit clunky and the interface isn't great, and also it can be unstable, which is a comment that's been mirrored online quite a bit. But you can circumnavigate this and it's not much of a problem because you can use Roon to send streams to the Cambridge, and also remember it is Spotify Connect and Tidal Connect capable, so you're doing a similar thing. Now I've used this StreamMagic with the CXN version 2, which I should say, by the way, is way outdone now by the Eversolo DMP A6, so watch my review on that for further info. This amplifier is really lovely made, and I like these magnetic panels down the side that you can take off. You can put the metal ones on, which I think is an aluminium metal. It's a sort of nice swirly pattern. Also the wood panels, which I think are a walnut, although I'm not sure about the kind of, Griswold family's truckster look of putting wood panels down the side of hi-fi boxes. It looks a bit sort of dated and just not very contemporary. That's just my personal opinion. What did they do with that citron cactus plastic panels down the side? Awful. Ugh. It's not actually a touchpad screen. You actually have to use the little buttons down the side of the main display to navigate through the functions. But I do like these 2 dials. The outer one is for volume and the inner for adjusting the input. It's like a kind of measuring caliper where you've got those 2 dials, one goes one way and the other goes the other. I've got this Cyrus 1 cast amplifier which uses its own Class D amplification, 100 watts into 8 ohms, and I found it, compared to the EVO 150, to be a little bit more airy in its overall presentation to treble. The EVO 150 is more refined and dynamic, and that's perhaps unsurprising with the price hike because we're talking probably double the price. Although having said that, you can get this Cyrus now in the UK for 600 quid, which is half its original recommended retail price. I'm really impressed nowadays with how natural sounding Class D amplifiers can be, and that's been my experience with trying Hypex N-Core modules in various different products. And with the Dynaudio Emit 20s, which I use in this review to test both these amps, Cyrus and the EVO 150, against one another, again, very natural sounding, quite kind of not too much tracing, if you like, of edges around notes that you'd expect with Class D amplification, even with these Dynaudios, which can be quite toppy and trebly with some recordings. So what I'm saying is it's a decently refined amp with nothing to let it down sonically at this type of money, and considering the class that it falls into, a streaming integrated amp at this type of money. It's also not too forward, which can be, in some cases, with some Cambridge audio products, a particular trait of the brand. But any notion of calling this amp a super integrated to imply that the sound quality of it is the same as a product that is a pure analog amp with no DAC and no streaming engine in it wouldn't be right. And that's because Cambridge Audio have obviously got to spend on the DAC, the casework, the amplifier part, the screen and so on, and there's only so much that can be achieved in an amplifier at this type of price. That might be stating the obvious, but you'd be surprised about how many people think that they are getting the same as a pure analog amp in spending this sort of money. I know it's all relative, but I'd personally consider something like an NAD M33 to be a super integrated amp. And that's probably because as you spend more and you get past that sort of £4,000, $5,000–6,000 price point, you get diminishing returns, so products become closer together in performance. Kinky Studio's EX M1 Plus amplifier that I reviewed on this channel, a nicely made Chinese amplifier, is going to take this EVO 150 to the cleaners in terms of transient attack, dynamics, resolution and naturalness. It was a very big sounding amplifier, much bigger soundstage, obviously more power, but it is the same price in US dollars to this EVO 150. And I make this point again to corroborate my point about the fact that you can't get a integrated streaming amp to sound the same as a pure analog amp. And I know you're going to need to buy, a DAC, you're going to need to buy a streamer with the Kinky. You get my point. If the EVO 150 offers you all the streaming capability you need, and you're savvy enough to realise that you're not going to get the same sound quality in a streaming integrated amp like this as you would a pure analog amp for the same money, then I think you're going to have a favourable impression of the EVO 150, as I have. And for a product at its price, in its class, it's quite impressive. From an audiophile standpoint, or an aspirational audiophile, I think this product is going to suit someone that realises that it's not the best sounding at its price, that they're not too fussed about that being absolutely amazing in terms of, really maxing out their system and getting the best possible and spending loads of money. But they probably got a family, they want everyone to use it. It's an easy to use product that you can switch on and get going really, really quickly. And that they're prepared to compromise, as I say, on sound quality, but also that it's just easy to use. And a one-box solution, which is also important. They don't want to faff with having lots of boxes in their hi-fi. This is the type of person this product is going to suit. Some hi-fi reviewers go on about the fact that you can't do comparisons to products if one of the products is no longer in situ, which I personally think is a load of bollocks, because it really depends upon the circumstances. How much better is another product? How much worse is another product? How far apart did you listen to the two products? In this particular case, I wouldn't be able to say how this Cambridge Audio compares to an M10, the version 1 model from NAD, because it was A, too long ago, and B, the performance level, if you like, between the products is actually, from what I can recall of those products, quite similar. And that also goes, I should say, as well with the Handle H120. But I would slightly contradict that, or I'd like to qualify that in relation to the Handle H120, because it is going to be a more analog sounding amplifier to this Hypex Encore based EVO 150. That's typically the difference that you get. At the same time, less power with the Handle. So it's going to really depend upon your speakers, how sensitive they are. And generally speaking, if they're of average sensitivity, I'd expect the EVO 150 to be more dynamic and more capable that way. That's obviously one reason probably why they use these high power Class D modules against the Handle, which is going to be more, analog turntable type sounding, but less drive and less gutsy. It really depends upon which is your thing. Having said that though, in all likelihood and in all probability, although I haven't definitively done the comparison, I expect I'd be finding that I prefer the EVO 150 with most speakers, average sensitivity or harder to drive speakers, simply because of the extra dynamics and slam to music that a higher power amplifier is going to bring, certainly one of the quality of Hypex Encore and of this ilk that I know does actually work. So in conclusion, this amplifier has great sound for all it does, and considering what its capabilities are as an all-in-one, it's got good features, it's well made. Yeah, I'd recommend it. Kudos. Thanks very much for watching.